Welcome back to part 3, I believe we're on. Where I'm going to finish telling the story of some of the things I've been through in my life. The last one was how I got into the city life and how the drugs got introduced to me. So from, as the last story, working as a stripper, that's how the drugs got really bad. Some parts of me, some nights couldn't taking my clothes off. And dancing for money. Another part of me couldn't make it to school the next day and stay up. So I would ride around with a whole 8 ball of cocaine in my glove box. And I would at night take ecstasy pills to manage doing what I did. Then that became fun to me. That became highlight of my life, where making all that money and what I thought was feeling good was great. And of course, like anybody else who has a drug problem, thought that it could never happen or I can get out of it real quick, right? Well, just that little bit of time, it didn't take long that a little bit of stuff went from a lot of stuff. So one pill, I went to three. Three can make your heart explode. Um, it was just fun to me. It was exciting, you know. But after three wouldn't work, I kept going up. I kept going up, and I was up to 6 pills a night. 6 pills a night, and if you know anything about them drugs, it took Vicks. I definitely had the Vicks to amplify that. It would amplify it, enhance it. It was a high I can't explain. It was a high I can't explain. All I know is it got me away from where I was at the moment, but yet it was still fun. I became to enjoying what I was doing. And when that happened, I enjoyed it a little bit too much, and I had to let my school go. Because at some point I couldn't take taking that all night, staying up all night, and then next day having to take something else to stay awake because I was literally sitting in class. I'll never forget. Like just tweaking, just looking around like, oh my God, somebody's gonna know. Somebody's gonna see me. Somebody can tell. I'm in a whole, college class. Tweaking out. That was not fun for me. So I let the schooling go. But I kept on with my party life. And literally after 6 pills, when three of make your heart explode, I don't even know how I made it. I don't even know how I'm sitting here telling you about this. Because, like, that's a lot. But I remember having a supply and buying 6 at a time for one night. So, again, hey, it's fun. It's the party life. I'm living it. I'm loving it. I can handle it. Didn't realize that my school was the first thing to go. Forgot all about my goal and what I did to move there, right? Well, it started taking more than my school. I couldn't pay my rent. I was actually a roommate with another girl. She was, I loved her. I loved her. We ended up, we ended up fighting one night. hmm Over something crazy. Over something crazy that she told me about, and it was hard to believe, just different stuff. And again, a lot of it could be put on me because at the time, I was on a high. I can't explain it, but we fought in a dressing room. I died, half naked. But that's that life, that's that life you get into. I did have pictures that we took in the club. We would party. But when I had my kids, I decided to burn them, thinking I never want them to see me like that. Because it wasn't the outfits, it wasn't the flashy outfits and the high heels that caught your attention in the pictures. It was the fact that you couldn't see my eyes, and if you did with a flash, they were red, extremely red, or really, really small. I looked sick. It was horrible. So, and because I didn't want my kids never to know, I burned them pictures. And I wish I wouldn't have, because now I'm telling a story about it. And my kids know already. Before social media, I told my kids, I sat my kids down and told them about everything they needed to know before any kind of lies started. Um, so about me dancing, my drug habit, and, more to come of what y'all gonna know. So my kids was the first to know a lot about all my truths. But anyway, I kept going, and I lost my apartment, and it was taking my car, and the same time, oh, that ain't nothing. I'm gonna get it back. I'm gonna dance and get it back, not realizing because I was buying so much at one time that I was being left with nothing. So I was making a whole lot of money, but it was also gone. And that thought of, I got this, it was gone too. I was too far gone. I needed it. I had to have it. But that's when, like, life taught me a huge lesson at that point. So the drug life, it definitely wasn't for me. Because the next time, my next episode, my next story is gonna be how, you know what? We're just gonna tell it now. Since it's all about drugs, we're gonna tell it now. I'm gonna go ahead and go with that. So, on how I got off. When I realized that I didn't have control over the drugs anymore, the drugs had me. I had nowhere to stay. I had nothing to eat. Um, Nothing. Like, I was losing everything. I was skinny. It was just horrible. I couldn't even afford my drugs no more. So I called my mom, my stepdaddy, and I said, I want to come home. I want to come home. But I don't want to go to a rehab. I want to do it by myself. She said, what you mean? She said, hold on, talk to Ronald. And God rest Ronald's soul. We called him Dickie Do. Okay, I love that man. He was a good stepdaddy. He got on the phone. He said, I tell you what. He said, I don't want to know everything. I'm going to ask you what I need to know. I said, okay. He said, when's the last time you did something? I said, about 10 minutes ago, before I called you for help. He said, okay. He said, I'm going to get you a job with me, and I'm going to tell you what to do. I said, okay. He said, can you make it back home? And I didn't even know how to answer him, and I just said, I'll get there. Because I didn't even know if I had enough gas. Now, granted, again, I had family in New Orleans on that part of town. They knew some of it. They just didn't know all of it. They would definitely support me in anything I do. But I think that putting the hurt on them or the shame on me to know that I was as bad off as I was, I didn't know who to tell, what to tell, so that's why I called my mom and my stepdaddy first just to get out of town. But when I called him, he said, okay, I'm going to get you a job with me. You go come work in the plants. You got to be able to pass the piss test. I said, well, I can't do that. Not with everything I've been eating and snorting. And said, I'm going to tell you what to do. And I'm going to give you a little time. Now, at the time, this did work, okay? It worked. Now it don't, because people use the hair samples, right? So that's irrelevant to the story. I drank the stuff he told me to drink all the way back home, praying to God that I made it back to Peaport, the one place I was trying to get out of. And that's all I thought was, man, I got to be back down there. I got to be back in that shithole, right? Small town. Well, when I made it back, and I was able to pass piss test. It worked. It don't work today, but back then it did work. But yeah, it definitely don't work today. So he got me on in the plants, and I was staying clean for about a week and a half, and in 2 weeks came in, and the struggle was real. The struggle was beyond real. I come out my room in my mama's house, and I literally had my hands in my hair locked up, and I started pulling my own hair out, y'all. I'll never forget it. And I didn't even feel no pain. I just was screaming, and I was pulling my hair, and I had lots of hair, and then my mouth started foaming. My mouth started foaming. My legs was hurting so bad. My entire body was in so much pain. But where the foam come from, I still don't know. Them withdrawals I was having that day was insane. And I guess from working every day and keeping myself busy and occupied, it wasn't as bad as noticeable until that day. Child, that day did me in. And my mama looks at me, and they were sitting at a table when I come out the room, and I mean, it was just crazy. I cannot imagine what it looked like. And she bum rushes me like a football player, knocks me to the ground, gets my hair, unlocks my hands. My stepdad, he's panicking. He's like, "Oh my God, Cynthia, look, the stuff coming out of her mouth. She's about to die." My body was shaking so bad. Mom was just on top of me. I don't remember what she was saying. I just remember she was on top of me. And I remember Ronald yelling, "Oh my God, I'm going to give her a Xanax. Look, her body. We got to calm her down." And I remember they sticking it in my mouth. And that's all I remember. And next thing I know, I was waking up. I was waking up. And my mom was crying. And Ronald was just looking at me like just in awe. And it started coming back to me. So these things, it wasn't, a lot of people say drugs is a disease. I'm going to argue that till the day I die. It's a choice. That's a choice. And if you want to sit here and disagree, go argue with your mammy, okay? Because I'm not the one. Unless you actually put yourself in them shoes to know it was a choice for me to start it, just like it was a choice for me to get off of it. Now, the choice to get off of it was harder and worse because it comes with so much pain and so much struggle. Your body fiends for it. And when your body fiends for it, it's going to win. And that's a fight from hell. Do I need anybody to feel sorry for me? Absolutely not. Okay? But I'm going to share my experience. Because there might be somebody that want to get off of it, and their body hurts too bad, and they think they can't make it. You looking at somebody who felt that same pain. And it didn't go away right away. It didn't. I had to fight for a long time. So, if you're one of the people that's like me, don't give up, babe. Don't give up. We're here for it. We do recover, right? So that played a major part in, for one, the drugs in your brain cells. Okay, it'll fry them. My mental health declined. You know, I had to fight for that, because you're fighting of what your body wants, what your mind knows what's right, but yet you just don't want to deal with it. But being an addict will mess with your mental state, most definitely. And it'll probably keep messing with your mental state for as long as you can remember. As long as you will let it. But there's always that fight, and there's always that, for me, I could have no want. I could be around a lot of it right now. And it won't tempt me, not once. Because of my experience. And because I made it this far to where I'm at. And when I first started my journey, at the very first video, I told you I wanted to be somebody one day. I'm determined to do that. Even if it's being somebody on the internet with inspiration, words of wisdom, or just for a good laugh. Just for a good laugh. I want to be the voice of people like me. So that was part of my role. And best believe it was never easy. So we're going to finish with the next session of the next part of my life after this.